Mercedes GLE versus BMW X5. Who is the king of premium SUVs? We're going to find out for you here today together with Thomas and Autogefuehl in 4K full screen, full length. Let's go with this super interesting comparison. We already had Mercedes GLE versus BMW X3. We had the S-Class versus 7 Series, E-Class against the 5 Series, and always it turned out differently. How will it turn out today? Here we start with the Mercedes GLE. Both have been facelifted quite recently, actually. This one is here the AMG-Line, so you have a sport here accentuation in the lower part and one horizontal spoke here in the grille and this beautiful micro star pattern. There's also the base version available. It will have 2 spokes here and not such a sporty graphic in the lower part. And actually, I would say for the GLE, I would prefer it like this here in the AMG line. Or what would you prefer? With the BMW X5. This is the X line. Since the facelift, this is also the base look with a more brighter look, kind of off-road accentuation-ish, I would call it that way. But you can also get the M Sport pack. Then you have sport here, design, especially here in the lower side graphic. There's even an M Performance parts available that makes it even sportier, but maybe too much. So I would pick them as they stand here right now. The X5 as the X line, more the off-roadish look, but with the GLE, the sportier look with the AMG line. Or what would you go for? Well, when we take a look at the side profile and about the length, they are both 194 inches in length. So 4,94 and 4,92, so more or less the same in length. Also 19 to 22 inch wheels. These here are 20-inch wheels with the BMW. On the Mercedes GLE we have 21 inch, so a little bigger, sportier look. Suspension-wise is really interesting. So the BMW starts with an adaptive suspension already, and then it goes optional to an air suspension. Special thing is that here is also optionally rear axle steering available. With the GLE, you upgrade from the standard suspension to the air suspension as well, and then optional, the e-active body control that you can also lean the car into the corners. We also have it equipped here today. I'll tell you more about it if that's really necessary. Just rear axle steering is not available here with the Mercedes GLE. So maybe in the US it doesn't make too big of a difference, but in Europe it would actually, especially for narrow city situations. Then towards the rear, the facelift also upgraded there a little bit here for the GLE with the more modern graphic. There we go. And Autogefuehl fake exhaust alert, because these here are clear fake exhaust for the GLE, whereas the X5 has fake exhaust tips, but the real exhaust does run through here, through these tips. In the X line, once again, you have these brighter accentuations in the lower part. I think overall very cool look. And also here the tail lamps very horizontally drawn. Turning indicators indeed way different with the BMW since the facelift in this arrow design with the pulsing effect. Mercedes more in a classic style. The colors, by the way, high-tech silver for the Mercedes and Blue Ridge Mountain for the BMW. Which one would you go for from the exterior, BMW or Mercedes? Tell me in the comments. These are 2 key fobs. They both have a very nice styling. Which one would you prefer? The Mercedes one is a little bit heavier, the BMW one is a little bit lighter and door closing sounds. GLE first. That's a nice sound. Inside of the door, soft touch here, a little bit softer for your elbow. Inside door pockets, however, hard packed. There's just this rubber bottom, so no felt on the inside. Interior, let's go here. Mercedes GLE. Since the facelift, you now have these horizontal lines here as an additional design element. And I talked to Leah about that earlier, and she actually suggested that it looks like sunshades on a house or on the flat on the outside. So I think it's a matter of preference. I found it actually quite cool, I have to say. Then you also get this soft touch dashboard, a lot of air vent design definitely here. Then a carbon fiber decal element. Of course, you can pick different ones. What I prefer with the GLE is that although it has been facelifted, you still have the manual climate control here, so you can easily control it while driving. I do prefer that. Actually, BMW had that, but deleted it for the facelift. 2 times 12.3 inch has also been updated then here with the software in the infotainment system. Pretty clean design. This lower touchpad here, I would prefer a real turning knob for that one though. So this you can control it like this or then as touch here in the screen actually. You also have some nice off-road gauges, by the way, not only here in the main infotainment system, but also then here in the instruments. Then middle console is like with these two, like off-road to hold tight things. Then air suspension you can put up and down here. Split armrest with USB-C charging underneath, and also nice closing sound. A lot of high gloss black then here as the cover. Slide it open, then you have adaptive cup holders. They work pretty well. You can also here move them a little bit more open and then push them here and then they go down. Why not? Inductive charging pad also in the front and 2 more USB-C chargings. Then the steering wheel has been updated. Here in the AMG design, it means 2 horizontal spokes. However, now in the facelift, hashtag capacitive BS buttons. So it looks cleaner, but to control them and swipe in the head-up display or the instrument menu sometimes fails. And you also have a head-up display, and you can even pick different modes for this one. Seats here in the GLE animal skin spec, however the Artico leather red would also be available. In general the material is quite stiff and quality wise cannot keep up with the BMW. Indeed, it's a good comfort in general. Here headroom 189, 602, a lot left. There is a panoramic roof available, by the way, if you like. And this is the problem. So here in the middle console, this is softer. But then this one is not entirely hard, but definitely harder. And sometimes your elbow is exactly here. And that is actually too hard for your elbow while driving. So this is a design fail from the positioning. Rear seating. The inside of the doors, by the way, is also soft touch on the top part. That's nice. However, the door pockets, neither in the front nor in the rear, are covered on the inside, both hardpack. For that price, really? However, then the rear seating, you fall a little bit backwards on that bench. We have a lot of legroom. Look at that. So a lot of legroom left, even if a tall driver is driving, and headroom is also no problem at all. A lot of space here and also quite good in the comfort. I'm really looking forward how it does compare to the X5. Inside of the rear door, same theme here. Top soft, lower part hard pack, and then seating position in the rear. Since we also have the sensor fin here, it's way softer, more comfortable. Indeed, also for the rear passengers, wow, it's way more comfortable here in the X5 just from the seating itself. Headroom, there's some left here too, but the GLE had more headroom than the X5, and also you can see a massive difference in legroom. So the GLE has way more legroom here. However, then the seating comfort, especially for tall adults, is actually better than the X5. It still is okay from the space here. Yeah, the question is, what is more important to you, more legroom or the better seating comfort itself on the surfaces? Door closing sound with the X5. Also really nice. Couldn't really say which one I prefer. It's both indeed cool. Then inside of the doors, also soft touch here everywhere. Yes, also good build quality. But here inside of the door pocket, also hard packed with both vehicles. That's disappointing indeed. Then the cockpit, this is here the normal steering wheel. There's also an M Sport available. It looks sporty, but I would actually prefer this one because it just looks cleaner in a way. The X5 still has real buttons on the steering wheel and with a nice clicking sound, so I would prefer this then in that case. Seats, these ones are the sensor fin seats, so they are animal free, more sustainable, animal friendlier, and also the so-called Einsitzhöhe, like like this top bolstering here, how it goes deep in there, and also the quilting on it. Black or also bright styling available. These ones are standard actually for the X5, and also the best in comfort overall. Are actually among the most comfortable seats in the whole industry at this moment, both from ergonomics and from the surface. So this is very well done, and indeed way more seating comfort than in the GLE. Also here, this lower part here, you can put this one a little bit longer than for long legs. It's also very helpful, and you can even adjust just not only like the whole back part of the seat, but only here the very top, just the very top area you can move backwards or forward. Cockpit in the front of the X5. Deco element here in wood. Isn't Leah's favorite? She says it looks a little bit too old school. I love the wood deco elements. However, I usually prefer the matte wood and not the shiny wood. But nevertheless, you can also pick, like non-wood decor elements, different choice available. Since the facelift, you also have this illuminated X5 badge here and a new mechanism here to control the middle air vents. And this one screen design now in a curved way, 12.3, 14.5, so a little bit bigger on the right side, bigger than with the GLE. The thing is, it looks cool and modern. However, the AC unit is now in the screen, and that's what I don't like. Before it was here, so pre-facelift. Then again, the Apple CarPlay connection, the wireless one, is better now with the facelift because there's a new software version. So there's pro and con coming with that facelift here. Then in the lower part, that's actually cool. There's still a turning and pressing knob where you can also control the infotainment system with. I prefer it here in the BMW. Then you slide this one open. Also adaptive cup holders. They're also heated and cooled if you like. Inductive charging pad. However, this one is not cooled. This is a problem. The phone does overheat when inductive charging. Also a split armrest opening here with some space and USB-C charging. And the thing is that here, I don't have a problem with the elbow because it's always in that area. I'm never with the elbow on that area in the front. So here it's always soft when you rest your elbow like this. Headroom, by the way, also plenty available. Oh, here also with a nice microfiber ceiling. Digital instruments look like this. They come alive when you start up the vehicle, and then you also can have an RPM meter if you like. On the left side would be the speed, but you also have it digitalized in the middle part. And you also get a head-up display. And now Leah is showing us the sun visor. Here you can actually make it a little bit longer in the X5. Also nice microfiber covering here for the sun blind. So that's good. It's also the same in the GLE. Now in the GLE, yeah, material-wise, no comparison actually, so this is way cheaper from the material indeed. So with the BMW it was like soft microfiber, here is harder. And could you make it longer actually?
No.
Was it? No, but not possible. So yeah, that's a point for the X5 then. Yes, for the trunk, it's interesting here, the X5 has this split, so there's one part in the top and then you can move down the second part right here. And this is maybe cool like for picnic situations because you can really sit down here and have a nice picnic and so on. Of course, you can also let it just up and take things in and out. Size-wise, it doesn't make too big of a difference. 650 liters for the X5, a couple of liters less for the GLE, but doesn't make any major differences. Width here, 1.10 meters or 43 inches, that's good. And the length here is also a little bit over 1 meter or 40 inches, that's good. As well as for the height, this is like 80 centimeters or 31 inches. By the way, pretty cool. Look at that. Here my suitcase is lying on that, and this here has a gas strut like underneath the cover. That's amazing, right? And then you can put more things in there, or maybe a spare tire, and also like how it clicks in here. That's cool. However, facelifts do not always bring good things. So here they removed this remote folding mechanism. So to fold the seats then I have to go around in the X5. Yeah, and I didn't have to do that before. It's always a nice effect, like, you know, see that it's both closed and simultaneously. Sometimes you know, just by mistake, not intentionally close the lower lip. You have to pay attention to that. Then the GLE. There we go. And the width here with the GLE, once again, 1.10 meters or 43 inches. Length, comparable, meter or 40 inches. And here also in the height, oh, this is actually also a little bit better, 83 centimeters or 33 inches. So that's interesting. Although the X5 leads in liter, the GLE here looks better actually. This one, no gas strut, but a lot of space underneath. So maybe it's the thing. Yeah, you can see here the GLE loses the liter figures here because it's a little bit, you know, like cut off here, whereas the X5 continues a little bit more here. That's maybe the thing. We can put down the car because we have the air suspension, so for better loading in and out. But then again, there's also no remote release. So I mean, at that price point, there definitely should be one, shouldn't there? So then we can push it around like this. I always love that shot here. Oh, Hulk is opening both hoods. So there we go. The BMW 3-liter 6-cylinder, or then in the top spec a 4-liter 8-cylinder in the M Performance model and the True M model. And that's basically it on the petrol and a diesel side. And the plug-in hybrid is also based on the 6-cylinder. With the Mercedes, you also have the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel and petrol. However, you also start with 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol and diesel, depending on the market if it's available. And their plug-in hybrids are also based on the 4-cylinder. However, there's just one 53 AMG version plug-in hybrid that's also based on the 6-cylinder. Then there's once again also a 4-liter 8-cylinder than for the AMG model, for example. Well, so with Mercedes, let's say the engine lineup is a little bit more complicated, but they still offer a lot of cylinders on both sides, and we both have 3 to 6 cylinders here as a comparison for you today. All right, Thomas's comparison driving lounge, starting with the BMW X5. We switch here to the sport mode. Ooh, then we get like this preload from the gears from 50 kilometers an hour. Let's go. $150. Nice. 170. 180, and now we're paying attention that we don't crash into someone. That was very good acceleration here for the 3-liter 6-cylinder, in this case the diesel. 5.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. That was really decent, and also a very nice refined sound actually, so you don't feel like, oh, it's a bad sound because it's a diesel. That's not happening here in the 6-cylinder diesel actually, and is a very smooth power on the road definitely. Here, the steering wheel without M Sport, I really have to say, I told you earlier that looks-wise I found it actually better, and it is actually better to control as well, because somehow I sometimes feel that the M Sport steering wheels have some kind of asymmetrical feeling to it, and this one here definitely feels more natural and symmetrical. That's very interesting. Leah is now thinking, that's Thomas OCD again. Yeah, about that. Maybe I'm car OCD-ish, you know, maybe I have to make that up. I don't know. Interesting is, by the way, here in the sport mode BMW, because we recently did a comparison sport mode and then the S shifting mode versus sport mode and D shifting mode, because when you are in an Audi or Mercedes and you go sport mode, it automatically switches to the S shifting mode. Here it's separate. So here it says S6, one time it says D. So the sport mode and the sport shifting mode is separated here in the BMW. That's interesting. And the thing is that the S shifting mode is good when you have like tight bends and you have acceleration and braking and back and forth. But here for the best performance, it's not necessarily the best setting. So that's why I kept it in the sport driving mode, but kept it in normal shifting mode, because then maybe some shifting times might not be ideal. The last time we tested it with the BMW 4-cylinder diesel, it was actually a second quicker in the sport driving mode and D shifting mode. Very interesting, isn't it? Now here, 120 kilometers an hour. I can also go back to the comfort mode. Then the air suspension is also set on the softer note. This one here equipped with the optional air suspension. And we're driving a large SUV on the German Autobahn at 130 kilometers an hour, 80 miles an hour, and it is very silent, good noise insulation. It's super comfortable. These seats are a dream. The so-called Einsitzhöhe, such a good, like one of the best leatherette out there, and not only the best leatherette, one of the best seats out there at this moment. Leah, your comment? I'm talking about the car here. Please pay attention. Yeah, but that's the case. I mean, she's like dreaming away because the seats are so comfortable indeed. So there's always the thing like where when your passenger is not paying attention, it's like so relaxed. You know, I mean, I was just doing like full acceleration. She's like so relaxed and comfortable here. So yeah, definitely proves my point. Best comfort here in the seats, and you can go long way journeys, no problem at all. Mileage, that's very excellent. And the steering feel here is good, fine nuances, transport on the road. And I always feel that the SUV steering feel here is better at the BMWs than, for example, with some of their sedans. And that's kind of astonishing, you know. I'm not sure why that is. If The SUVs, the big ones, are all built in the US factory in Spartanburg. Maybe these guys in the factory there think like, hey, let's make a better steering setup than with the sedans that are built in Germany. I have no idea where that is. Or in Mexico, of course, for the 3 Series for the Northern American market, whereas the 3 Series for Europe is built then in Germany. So here also, when you're just in the comfort mode, there's always the pin down available, and then you get good drive. Here, of course, the torque from the diesel sets in. For the North American market, the 3.6 in the petrol will be the most relevant, of course, but it's definitely comparable for the performance and so on. It's a great engine. And also interesting, talking about engines, that recent consumer reports show very good reliability figures for BMW, which hasn't been the case like maybe like 10, 20 years back. And, you know, they had like a reputation of, they're money pits and so on, great in driving, but then when you buy and own for a long time, money pits. But here BMW has massively increased reliability in the rankings. That is very astonishing, really good actually. Whereas with Mercedes, they went actually downhill with that. So that's definitely a factor to consider here as well. But such a relaxing ride on the motorway, and although you're driving like a large SUV, it doesn't shake up much and so on, even in comfort mode. When you are in the sport mode, then the air suspension is, you know, a little bit stiffer, gives you more feedback. But it's not that you would, you know, when you get in the vehicle from the suspension, you would directly not notice which suspension mode the car is actually set in. Which is, I think, rather a good thing, because in this you can drive it in any mode and it will be good both on the comfort and the sportiness side. Do you need the air suspension in the BMW X5? I would say no. It's good, definitely, but the normal adaptive suspension is so good that you do not miss an air suspension. So I would recommend, you know, or when you buy used or something, it's no problem which suspension the vehicle is equipped with. If you think about buying long term, it might be even better not to have the air suspension, because at some point when there is a repair after a long time, then it's easier to fix the base suspension than the air suspension, for example. Oh, there's a German police, by the way. You know, blind spot monitor also in the side mirrors. We can also test the cruise control feature. Here I can change the mode for like normal speed limiter, then just the normal cruise control between the assisted driving, and here assisted driving. Car is basically steering itself. Of course, you have to keep your hands at the steering wheel, but you see here there are no hectic movements. Car is being centralized in a very smooth way. And now when the motorway is slightly turning to the left, you can see it's still being kept relatively smooth. So overall, that is really, I mean, such a flawless driving experience here with the BMW X5. I wonder if the GLE can be even better than that. And now the Mercedes GLE, let's put here to the sport mode, and let's also accelerate here from 50 kilometers an hour. Let's go. 130, 150, nice, 170, 180, and plop, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. I mean, we're driving a large SUV and still feels really good. Even wind noise is pretty good at that speed, so that is nice. Yeah, it drives really well. New steering wheel with this facelift here for the GLE also is very nice to control. The steering has massively been improved. It's more direct, more feedback. Just here in the something happens here on the left lane. So in this, the very low degree angle, there the BMW has more feeling, more direct input, but then to the outsides, it's definitely better. And it was also astonishing that with the GLE, you need a little bit more force to steer it, especially in the sport mode. So the BMW steering, to me, a little bit better. I mean, yes, it's a little bit lighter, but at the same time, it has more natural feeling to it. So both on a very good level, but the BMW steering a little bit better. Suspension-wise, I do prefer the air suspension of the Mercedes. I feel that if you go with the standard suspension, then the BMW is better. If you go with the air suspension, this one here has a more likable setup. Why? Especially when I'm here in the comfort mode, this air suspension here, when there's some bumps in the road, it just has a little softer setup. you know, gives you this air carpet ride, whereas the BMW is a little bit more direct. And I prefer that if you have an air suspension, you also feel clearly that you have an air suspension. That's what I prefer here with the GLE. Although we have here 21-inch wheels mounted and 20-inch with the X5. So suspension-wise, both are super comfortable. And here also, let's take like normal motorway speeds, like here 130 kilometers an hour, 80 miles an hour. It's very silent here. So both are very silent. That's very, very well done. So a super comfortable ride for both on the motorway. Seats, clearly the BMW X5 is the winner. These seats here are the animal skin seats. You also get the Artico leatherette. But in both cases, the BMW leatherette seats, they are better than all of the other seat choice you would have for both cars, basically. So they clearly need it and give so much more comfort while driving. Also, the base ergonomics of the seats is better with the BMW. So you see, it's here, you know, I prefer this one. In other respects, I prefer the other one. It really depends, you know. Controlling it while driving, both touchscreens are quite far away. It's not meant to be done like that. Here you still have this lower controller, but that's also via touch, so it doesn't give you the best feeling. The only thing is the clearly better interface while driving is here that I still have the manual climate unit. I control that one way easier while driving. That one has been, you know, deleted with the facelift of the X5. Not a good decision, I feel, because then they would be quite even in that respect. Yeah, really here, like when running straight, then they have, see here, doesn't do anything on the road. Some might prefer that, I don't. So with the X5 I have a more fine feeling of what I'm doing in that angle. Then also when I'm doing a lane change here, in the normal comfort mode, it's very nice, very well done. Here, which is unique feature, you have the curve mode. This is a special suspension system with hydraulics, and then, I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but the car leans into the corner. It's not too much, not too extreme, but you feel and see it. And if you do these dry tests, you might say, yeah, this is an advantage then, especially for passenger. Leah also said she does like it at first, but then you said like bit by bit, it's a little bit, it became a little bit stranger, you know. So it's a cool feature to show off, but we were both not very certain if we would drive like that, like forever, you know. So it's not really needed. US vehicles are usually not equipped with that anymore. You can't really pick it. In Europe it's still available. Yeah, it's an interesting feature, but you don't really need it in that respect. You don't have the rear axle steering that you would have in the X5 as an option. We didn't have it today, but you can get it as an X5 option. And here, wow, the diesel really has, in German we would say, der hat ordentlich Druck, Alter. Like, it has a lot of pressure, dude. Yeah, that works very well with the diesel. So the only thing is that with the BMW, you don't feel at all that you are driving a diesel, especially in a low speed area. It doesn't happen at all that you would feel it's a diesel, because it has like a very, you know, like instant acceleration. Here, the Mercedes diesel feels more like a diesel. So it has a slight delay at first, and then the whole pressure comes, like the whole torque sets in. Acceleration wise doesn't make a big difference. So on paper here, like 0.1 seconds, this one here is slower, but that's about it. Excellent motorway SUVs for sure, both. I think it's more about really that the seating comfort, that is the biggest difference also while driving, and steering a little bit. But since they both do basically everything in driving so well, the pure driving experience is not the biggest difference between these two cars. Slight nuances, yes, but both excellent. But what does it mean for the final conclusion? It's going to be a tough one, so let's start. Exterior-wise, I think is really a matter of preference. And well, I prefer the AMG line for the GLE and the standard, the X line for the X5, but they're both very beautiful in the front. So exterior-wise, I think I'm kind of undecided. Interior-wise, just from the visual part, from the looks, I prefer the Mercedes GLE. Then again, with the X5, the seating comfort is way better with this sensor fin seat. So this is a huge difference indeed. Then again, the GLE has more legroom in the rear. Trunk was actually very well comparable, both very well usable. They both drive exceptionally well. Base suspension, I would prefer the X5. With the air suspension, I would prefer the GLE because it has a little bit softer setup. The ear active body control, the super extra suspension, is not really needed. The diesel engine here, direct in comparison, the X5 was a little bit more responsive from the engine, and also the consumption was lower, like 8 liters on 1 kilometers for the BMW, 9.5 liters for the GLE, so quite a notable difference, 30 mpg US or 35 mpg UK for the X5, but only about 25 mpg US or 30 mpg UK for the GLE. Pricing also very interesting. Here as the test vehicles that are spec'd today, 116,000 euros for the BMW X5 and 128,000 euros for the Mercedes GLE. Of course, a little bit less if you don't pick this e-active body control, but in most cases the GLE will be a little bit more expensive. Again, it always depends on the individual spec. They both come very close and they are both excellent vehicles, no doubt about that. Reliability figures, especially from the US, consumer reports indicate lately that BMW as a whole brand has better reliability rankings. Mercedes dropped down significantly there, and since they test US vehicles, GLE and the GLS are built in the US, so that comes quite close in that respect. So when you think about buying and owning and keeping it, then that speaks for the X5. Leasing then, of course, is something different because you don't carry the risk for that if you just lease it 2 or 3 years under warranty and so on. Overall, taking from all these factors, the question is what is most important to you? If I would prefer one or the other on design and exterior, that is not the most important to me. To me, the seating comfort indeed is crucial while driving, and that is way better with the X5. And of course, if I buy and own, the reliability aspect. So the thing is, I love both vehicles, really like to drive both vehicles. But when I just from my gut feeling, would decide which one could I keep still tomorrow and want to drive with it every day, in that respect then, and everything combined what we mentioned, I would keep the BMW X5 here today. Which one would you go for? And tell me why, tell me in the comments. And also tune in our other comparisons, Mercedes versus BMW. Has always been close and very interesting, and sometimes I go this way, sometimes I go that way. By the way, also, this is also a very interesting aspect I want to mention. Between GLE and GLC, the smaller brother, I would pick the GLC. Between X5 and X3, I would actually go with the X5. That's maybe also another interesting aspect for you.